Hey everybody, real quick before I get started, I want to tell you guys about something new that I'm trying out. I started a new Discord server. It's called One Mic. There is a link to the Discord in the episode description, and there will continue to be a link in the episode description for all subsequent videos. The reason I want to do this is because I wanted to give us all a space to collectively talk about all of the shows that I'm covering, so we don't have to talk across each other in the comments, or maybe miss some comments or miss some replies. I think it's a good place for us fans who are fans of the shows that I cover, fans of this channel, whatever that may be, for us all to get together and just kind of like talk about the show. So what I did was I created the server, and then I created channels within it for each show that I'm covering at that time. Right now it's set up to cover the, I think, 4 or so shows that I'm covering right now, and then I've added channels for shows that I'm going to be covering in the month of December that I know for sure. And then as I'm covering shows will cycle in and out. So like once I'm done covering a show, a channel will be deleted, and then once I start covering a show, a new channel will be added. So check out that Discord. I look forward to talking to you guys, and now let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch it so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 3 of Apple TV Slow Horses, entitled Drinking Games. The title seems to come from the events that were taking place just prior to Min's untimely death. Not the best or most creative episode title. Fairly obvious, not a lot to dig into there. There could be maybe some loose connections between deals or realizations that are arrived at over drinks. We do see a lot of drinking, but again, there's a lot of drinking on this show. There's a lot of smoking on this show. It is what it is. But talking about the episode, I feel bad saying this, but I think this was a fairly lackluster episode for me. And my problem is I can't tell if it's because the show is performing at a slightly above average level, aka it's the show's fault, or if it's essentially my fault, and even when it's my fault, it's still the show's fault. If it's my fault because I've just got this shit too figured out, so nothing's really surprising me. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I'm going to talk about the 2 issues that I have with this episode, and these 2 issues are going to encompass the entirety of the discussion on this episode, but I think within the context of my second point, that will help me kind of explain what I mean when I say I wonder if I've got the show just too figured out. So the first problem I have with this episode is that it suffers from the same thing that episode 2 did, which is River spending the whole episode doing a lot of like mildly interesting to entirely uninteresting things in order for him to just learn one thing at the end of the episode. You know, last week we had the same deal. We had him trying to get info out of that cab driver and all of that whole process for him to ultimately arrive at that airfield and find out that Trinitsky was gone. And this week, we follow him on this, I guess, charade in Upshot, where he pretends to be this journalist. He gets a room above this inn, and the inn has a bar on the main floor, and the bartender is immediately overly friendly with him, for the record. She takes him to the airfield that we saw last week, and she flies him around, and you get a kind of like, a lot of what happens in this episode is very much by the book spy shit. Like, her flying him around, right, and she's doing all these, like, fancy moves, upside downs, twists and turns, all this kind of shit. That is always done to fuck with the person in the, I don't know if you call it the passenger seat in an airplane, but the airborne equivalent of a passenger seat. I don't know if that's like, if it's just the fact that it's a spy thing, but like, when that happens, I'm automatically become suspicious of the person who's doing the flying, because it seems like there's always it's never just to fuck with them, like, let's watch them squirm. It's always you want to get, it's a means to an end. Even when this happened on The Fresh Prince. That's how generic this plot device is. It was an episode of The Fresh Prince. John Witherspoon was on it. He takes Will up in an airplane. He's doing the same crazy shit. And it's to fuck with him so that he'll start admitting the truth about the relationship that Will has with this guy's daughter. In this episode, I'm like, okay, she's doing all this fancy shit to fuck with him. There must be something she's trying to, an end that she's trying to get to. And sure enough, we see the dad show up, and we'll get to that in a moment. But She then invites him to dinner with with her family after this, because that's what you do when a random journalist comes to town. You invite them over to your house to meet your family. Nothing strange or eyebrow raising about that. And we ultimately find out that the family is cool with this Chernitsky guy. They know him as Leo. There was a lot of time spent on kind of like mundane activities just to get to this very unsurprising reveal that they know this Chernitsky guy. So again, I'm gonna expand on that a little bit more. I just want to get through these big points about what happened in the episode before I talk about these issues that I had. Speaking of unsurprising reveals, that leads to the other thing I didn't like about this episode. And I think this might be the time where I kind of delve into the what I think is failing this show at the moment. Sometimes you can get super accustomed to how an IP or even an entire genre, how they work or operate. And when you know an IP or genre's goal is to subvert expectations, and I know this and I know how they do it, subverting my expectations becomes my expectation. And I'm so programmed with this show to be suspicious of everything that I'm seeing everything they're doing before they ultimately reveal it. And that's taking all of the fun out of the show. One of the best parts of a spy film or a spy TV show is when you get these twists, because nothing is as it seems. That's the almost like the conceit of the spy genre. Nothing is as it seems, so you're gonna get some sort of wild surprise is gonna knock your socks off at some point. Some sort of reveal, lots of reveals maybe. But once you enter into that going, I know for a fact nothing is as it seems, you begin to look for clues. And Slow Horses isn't doing a great job of hiding those clues. So I'm going to give 3 examples. These are all things that happen in this episode, which is why I said these things will kind of like combine with the goal of talking about the episode. I don't know why I'm congested for some reason. All right, I feel a little better now. So, first example, we end the episode with Lamb being told by the woman who was involved in Min's accident that she wasn't driving and the car wasn't what killed him. So that was supposed to be like a big reveal, right? I was 0.00% surprised at this reveal. And I feel like this is the end of the episode reveal. It's supposed to be a big deal. This one and the one with that's in River's storyline. Both of those, like, not unsurprising. So Min's interactions with the Russian security detail at the beginning were like way too jovial. I'm like, they're getting along. I'm supposed to be letting my guard down here, but I'm not. It was very obvious to me that Min was oblivious to the fact that they were fucking with him. Like, this was not a for real, like, hey, we're all getting along and being pals here. There was something going on. So the one guy, the one who put the gun to him at the end of the last episode, goes to the door, has a conversation. He comes back and he does one of those, like, those manly man pats on the shoulder, one of those things. It's nice and loud. And normally you wouldn't think anything of this. But we just saw last week that these cicada guys can poison you via touch. And it was such a strong shoulder slap that it drew my attention to it. If he had just walked by and maybe like did so, if it had been more casual, I probably wouldn't have caught it. But it was so emphatic and so obvious. My immediate thought was, oh shit, this guy just poisoned Min. So then when he's leaving and they're like being all nice to him and shit, and they're like, oh yeah, you can go. I'm thinking in my head, like, why would they confront him in the way they did at the end of episode 2, just hang out and drink, and then just be like, yeah, go on about your merry way. Like, I'm already just like, oh, I already know this is not gonna go well. So then when Min does get into the car accident, again, I'm immediately like, nope, it wasn't an accident. He didn't get hit by a car on his bike. He was fucking poisoned. He probably had a heart attack just like Dickie Bowe, and maybe he, fell out, had the heart attack on his bike, and then he fell out, and then they made it look like a car accident. So that made that reveal at the end about it being not being an accident, or about it, not being an accident, about this woman not being involved. That made it not surprising at all. I'm just like, well, I knew that when it happened originally. So the 40 minutes that we spent leading up to this didn't matter for me. And also, because of the suspicion at the moment of that shoulder slap, when the camera pans over to the woman who hit Min sitting on the side of the road, again, my first thought was she's involved in this. So all that time that Lamb spent finding out that she's involved, it was like a waste of time, at least for me, because they already clued me in on that. So I'm already in on their tricks. So immediately, like we're probably within the first, probably not even 10 minutes, but probably more than 5, somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes into this episode, and I've already figured out that Min has been poisoned and that woman was involved in it. And they don't reveal either of those things until the end of the episode. So I spent the whole episode knowing that, watching them build up to it, and like, yep, this is all evidence that I was right 5 minutes into the episode. The second example I want to give is finding out that the bartender who works in the lobby of this inn that River is staying at, her name's Kelly. We find that out at some point late in the episode, by the way, because I was keeping an ear out for it. We find out that her family is affiliated with Chernitsky, which wasn't surprising for me at all. Nor will it be surprising when it's revealed that his entire family is in on this, and it's not just the dad. So immediately, when she was being nice to him and insisting on hanging out with him while he's trying to do his journalistic shit, immediately I'm like, okay, she's keeping tabs on him. Why is she being this like, oh yeah, let me come with you? Why is she being so friendly? Why won't she let him out of her sight? Why was she there early in the morning? It wasn't because she was there because she likes to set up. It was there because she wanted to be there when he got up so he wouldn't be able to leave without her knowing. She'd be able to tag along with them. So I'm thinking like, this is all orchestrated, right? So as soon as she offers to take him up in the airplane and we see the dad arrive while he's in the airplane, again, I'm like, okay, I was already suspicious of her being up in the morning and forcing herself or making it so that River has to take her with him. Now I see the dad arriving. She's got him up in the plane. So going back to the motivation of whenever somebody's fucking with somebody in the airplane, it's a means to an end. The end is she's got him up in the air while her dad searches the locker and searches River's shit, which is the whole reason she made him put his shit in there. So again, I figured this out already. I'm like, I was already suspicious of the daughter. Now the dad is here. The dad's definitely gonna look in the wallet or look in the phone, all this kind of shit. River's gonna come back. He's gonna somehow figure out that his dad fucked with it. Like all of this, I figure out immediately. So when we build up to it, it's boring, and then when we reveal it, it's unsurprising. So like, that's why I feel like the show is kind of fucking up. It's showing its hand a little bit too much. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, so when River sees his stuff out of order, again, I'm immediately thinking like he left it out of order on purpose so River would know he looked, because we've already established that these cicadas set traps. And Lamb even said it. And this has happened over and over already in 3 episodes. And Lamb said, like, what did he say to him? He's like, you're clean, so he's not going to find anything, which is going to make him want to get closer to you. Something like that, which was another big moment for you to understand that, for you to kind of like glean something that's going to happen later. But Lamb tells Standish that he expects Chernitsky to show up if River makes contact with whoever Dickie's contact was in Upshot. So again, when Chernitsky does show up at the end, couple that with everything I already figured out about the dad and his family, I'm just like, okay, well, this isn't a surprise that Chernitsky knows these people. And that's the end of the episode. That's supposed to be the big reveal. I figured it out 40 fucking minutes ago. Like, whatever. So the only surprise I think they could interject into this storyline is if it's actually the mom or Kelly themselves that is the agent and not the dad. That would be minorly surprising. If it wasn't for the fact that I just put it out there and not at all interesting. Like, they'd have to find a way to make me interested in that. It would feel like a twist just to be a twist. And even then, I'd roll my eyes at it because, again, subverting my expectations is now the expectation. So so I already figured out, like, okay, it's not just the dad, it's the whole family. They ain't even revealed that yet. And then, so if they ultimately reveal that it's the mom who's the agent, or if it's the daughter who's the agent, probably the daughter, and it's the daughter, like, I'm going to take him up, you go search for it. Like, it's the daughter who's orchestrating all this, and she's the contact. When they reveal all that, I'm going to be like, yeah, I said that in my episode 3 video. Like, and it's because, again, I'm now expecting to have my expectations subverted, so now I'm looking for it. So this third example isn't something that happened in the episode. It's something that I'm kind of using almost a form of prediction, because I feel like they're telegraphing what they're doing so much that this could be another telegraph. I could be wrong, but I'm putting it out there in case I'm right. I could be like, see? So what have I talked about a lot in the video for the first 2 episodes and a little bit in this one is that we know that these Russians can poison someone via touch. So Marcus returns in this episode after we didn't see him hardly at all in episode 2. And he's taking over for Min on this security detail with Louisa. And before they're supposed to meet with this guy Pashkin, Marcus really conspicuously takes a phone call, and he gives a reason to Louisa about it later, just saying that he has a problem with gambling, which, I mean, this doesn't even sound like a good lie. He has a problem with gambling. So when he said he was taking notes in his phone, he was placing a bet. And when he took that call, it was his bookie telling him that he lost the bet. Why the fuck in that situation, that specific situation, when you're with these two Russian guys going to do this very important security detail, and you're hoping to get in good with Webb, all this kind of shit, why in that moment would you take an insignificant fucking phone call from your bookie? Because it was not a phone call from your bookie. And that's why I'm just like, when it's revealed, I think ultimately that Marcus is involved in this, I'm gonna roll my eyes, and I'm gonna be like, I figured that out before they even gave any clues to it. Now, if I'm wrong about it, fine, whatever, but I don't know. So after the meeting with Pashkin, everybody's getting up to leave. What happens? Marcus lightly touches his arm right here, right below the shoulder, like just like guys do. All right, see you, man. One of those kind of deals. Marcus touches his arm. That would now be like the third or fourth instance of someone conspicuously touching someone on somewhere in the arm region. So if Pashkin mysteriously dies in the next episode or one of the remaining three, just know that Marcus did it, and the call that he took was probably him being given the go to do it, maybe even by Popoff. Marcus being a cicada who has been sent the Slough House to kind of take it down from the inside is absolutely fucking plausible. Like, I just don't... I'm fairly confident that's what's going to happen. And when that happens, you guys will be like, yo, Mike was right about how predictable this shit is. And I'll be like, yeah, oh, well, that's why I'm on this side of the camera, baby. So, a couple of thoughts to wrap up real quick. There were actually just one thought, but in multiple pieces. Terrible reactions to Min's death in this episode. And when I say terrible reactions, not the normal level of terrible that we expect from Roddy. Like a terrible that's like, okay, that's not even really funny. Like Roddy said, like when Lamb tells him that he's dead, Roddy said something like, he was okay for an average guy. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's not even funny. Like, I'm just like, that's a really shitty thing to say about one of your coworkers after they were killed. Like I can't even look at that as like, aha, that's Roddy being Roddy. It is Roddy being Roddy, but it's not funny. Like, that's just too shitty. Then Spider says to Tavener that Min's death is a win because they normally send people to Slough House to convince them to quit. And Tavener's like, yo, what the fuck? Then she later says that, what did she say? Something like, oh, you have to worry about my career aspirations. So Tavener ain't shit either. Then Roddy, a second one for him, tells Shirley that he has a chance with Louisa since Min is dead. Like, that's in poor taste. Like, I don't know. I think when you joke around with the death of someone who, within the context of the show, has done nothing to deserve to be talked about like that, it comes off as being beyond just like Roddy's normal levels of mean jokes. It was like, normally you'd be like, it's Roddy. But when you fucking around with somebody who died, who was your guy, like he worked there with you, and he was just alive the other day, and he's been there the whole time, at least for the whole show, finding out that he's dead, what I would think would be the time to turn off being a cunt, and instead Roddy turned it way the fuck up. I just found that a little off-putting, but not a strike against the show or anything like that. It is still Roddy being Roddy. I just think that the writers might have underestimated how shitty it was going to come off to do that to Min. Like, like he even says, too soon? Yeah, too soon. Like, it didn't work. Now you just come off like a dick and not being funny. So, that's all I got for this episode. Again, I feel like I had the reveals that we got at the end of the episode, I had figured out at the beginning of the episode. So everything that happened in the middle was just kind of just, okay, this makes sense because I already know it. Yep, that's where it is. Yep, now that's where we are. All right, I got it. I guess we'll see if I'm right about Marcus being, a mole or a member of... he's not... The only thing that throws me off is that clearly he's not Russian. But that's the main thing that throws me off, but I'm still suspicious of Marcus. But that's all I got. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next week for episode 4. We're halfway through the 6-episode season. So until then, peace.